Harrelson did not Epstein himself. Click the links, join the channel here or over at Subscribestar, Odyssey, or Rumble. So Woody Harrelson is what liberals used to be, asking questions. And the narrative enjoyers, the media pharma shills, are outraged over a true classical liberal who's not afraid to ask questions. But all that has changed over the past 20 years. So it's his fifth appearance on Saturday Night Live. Woody is what the liberals used to be before the rise of social media. And the system that social media created was America's headed for very, very dark days, because if you ask the wrong questions, you can get dogpiled on social media where you'll simply get fired. The banks will debank you. You'll get banned from all payment processors. Effectively, they'll try to make you homeless and destitute. And they have the power to do that, and there's no legal protections in place. And until those legal protections get enacted, and the thing is, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of push for any one of our representatives to enact those legal protections, where you go, oh yeah, hey, left or right, we should value free speech so much, we value individual liberties so much that we're willing to apply the First Amendment protections against these billion-dollar corporations. Where you shouldn't be fired for political speech. Your bank shouldn't have the right to debank you. Airbnb shouldn't have the right to. You get the idea. You should be protected. If something happens on social media, no, your corporation should not be able to fire you simply because it's bad publicity. That turns a nation from a nation into a corporate, into a commercial zone. The individual liberty is much, much more valuable than a billion-dollar corporation. And it puts the left wing in this weird position because suddenly they find themselves, oh, well, it's a private company. They can do what they want. You look at me like, so you're on the left and you're defending the billion-dollar corporations against individual liberty. You want some dog walker who had a bad run-in with somebody. You want her and her husband to get fired, their kids kicked out of school, debanked, their lives destroyed. You're okay with that? Because it's, well, she shouldn't have been Islamophobic. Yeah, but are you okay with the consequences matching that? Like the whole family getting their lives destroyed because of what was a setup. And you look at the left wing, it's like, I'm not sure what the left wing is anymore. I guess they're the authoritarian totalitarians they were all along, as long as they're the ones in power. So the classical liberals used to be fine with asking questions, don't trust big international faceless global corporations that act like parasites. Why on earth would anyone trust the media, government, or these big corporate machines? Do you think they have your best interests at heart? How many times do you need to see the media and government get caught in lies before you just admit, oh, I guess they just can't be trusted at all? Or, how many selective editings do you need to see from CNN? You realize, they very much have a left-wing, globalist, anti-white agenda here, because you see them edit things. They edit things nonstop. And then the thing is, everyone has got a cell phone now. And so someone in the crowd is filming the original scene, the organic scene. And then you see CNN's edited scenes. It's like that woman was talking about... we need our beauty supply store or something like that. And then what they clipped off was, go out to the suburbs, burn their neighborhoods down. CNN clipped that off, but someone in the crowd had a cell phone. They published it on social media, and the CNN goes, oh, okay, well, sorry, we clipped that off. It's like, yeah, we know you did. Or the Covington Catholic stuff. It's like CNN knew they had multiple angles of that situation. They knew the kid was the victim of an assault. They knew that. And they presented a certain narrative that could have got this kid or these Covington Catholic kids subject to violence. And the media knew that, and they presented it anyway because those kids were Catholic, of course, Christian, and the wrong ethnicity. And the media put that narrative out there, subjecting them to potential violence. And they knew the whole time it was a lie. Same thing with the Rittenhouse stuff. It's like people saw the videos, and this was before Twitter, but if you tried to post the full video on YouTube and Twitter, they would either shadow ban it or just outright take it down. YouTube just took it down, the full videos, because they didn't want that full narrative getting out there that the kid was a victim. Because the media has a narrative. I mean, the thing is, how many times do you need to see that before you realize, oh, like the media, mainstream media and social media, they're just lying to you to control the narrative. I don't know. Apparently, they really want to trust the mainstream for some reason. Or big corporations paying billions in fines for products and manufacturing defects. Anyone remember what that computer software guy did in India? Why they are so mad at that code guy? How the hell did the left wing suddenly fall in love with these left wing billionaires? As long as they're on the left, and they're like, billionaires are bad unless they're left wing billionaires, Bernie Sanders wants to tax the millionaires. It's a meme. He kept putting that in his speeches until his personal wealth crossed over $1 million. Then he switched it to taxing the billionaires. Thanks to that inflation, Federal Reserve. So what happened to the left wing? Well, Woody mentions how big corporate media is going to rush out and defend big corporate chem because one funds the other. Yeah, what did you expect them to say when they're literally their sponsors? Sponsored by big corporate chem. Media is not the media. If you're over a certain age, you remember when the media had a reputation for at least trying to cover stories. The reality is different from Hollywood's presentation of themselves. Obviously, the media themselves have been blowing smoke up their own rear ends about how stunning and brave they are for decades. And Hollywood used to make movies that were pushing the same narrative about the plucky young reporter, the grizzled reporter was going there and reporting in a dangerous situation. They're embedded. It's dark and gritty, and they're speaking truth to power no matter what. You know, these Pelican Brief type of people. They're going to blow the story wide open. The reality is they don't, and I can prove it with one example. The Epstein story. You saw how the media reported on that. Oh, Epstein self-deleted in prison. And the media's just looking at you right in the eye, saying it with a straight face. You go like, listen, buddy, I'm a talking head. Or I say I'm a newspaper reporter somewhere, in some major city, make a good salary, live in the city, got a family. Everything's going well. Reporting on Epstein and his partner actually in France, the same thing happened to him. You go, life is pretty good. Life is pretty good. If I report on the story, what do you think is going to happen? I'm going to be a victim of a tragic mugging, and I'll be deleted from this mortal coil. That's the reality on the ground. So every mainstream media company that came out and talked about that issue, they looked you in the eye and they gave you the same narrative. He apparently deleted himself in prison. Cameras went off. Moving on. Oh, so I mean the whole thing glows from orbit. Like the media is completely corrupt. Yeah, obviously, the entirety of it. I mean, once you see a story like that come out, you can just turn off the TV, turn off the mainstream media because you're not going to get anything from them if they'll sell you that narrative and there's no questions asked. It's just they're 100% on board with it. So over the years, the left wing has become more and more afraid to ask questions as the media has been consolidated into fewer and fewer hands. And over the past 20 years since those events on the East Coast and in Washington, the left wing got mask off, subverted, and suddenly very much supports the current thing. Whatever the media tells them to support, they're on board with it. Watching people now, it's like an invasion of the pod people. I think it's the rise of social media that allowed the puppet masters to support and create left-wing influencers. They can simply pay a guy, I think it's that Boston dad guy, a monthly consulting fee, and he'll tweet the party line. Don't let the right wing off the hook either. Who do you think Gateway Pundit, Post Millennial, Blaze, Rebel, PragerU, Babylonian Bee, Daily Wire, and now Project Veritas are for? You think those are speaking truth to power? They're the controlled ops red herring to keep you close to a target but never over the target. And don't exclude Trump or DeSantis if you'd like to examine their voting history. Two guys are both very much against free speech with the history to prove it. Remember when Ben Shapiro said what he said about people who criticize non-approved targets, that they needed to have their lives destroyed? It's like, so Ben, I thought you're on the right. The right wing doesn't do that. We don't punish free speech. Yeah, he's not on the right. Anyone who's allowed in the mainstream is not over target. The people over target get banned by Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase Bank, MasterCard, Patreon, PayPal, Facebook, and Twitter. The people who are over target are on Odyssey, Bit Chute, and Gab, and Telegram. The left wing, if it's in the mainstream, it's a narrative that's allowed by the mainstream. The left wing used to be for the small independent voice raging against the machine. Now the left wing, and I poop you not, literally the band Rage Against the Machine, was working with the FBI to track down the mostly fiery but peaceful protesters at J6. The F the police branch of the left wing has become so subverted that they're working with the state to imprison peacefully assembled people who are speaking truth to power. The left wing work with the FBI to imprison them. The defund the prisons and release prisoners is suddenly okay with imprisoning the J6 people because, or greatly expand the FBI like they did with they hired 90,000 new IRS agents and how many support staff to go along with them so they could tax the middle class, which they said they wouldn't do, but that's actually exactly what they did. These defund the police theory, and the thing is, they want decentralized. They want centralized authority. They want to remove state police powers, I guess vaguely the 10th Amendment, and they want to usher in a federal system where we want the opposite. We want to remove the central federal authority, and we want local communities. Communitarianism is what it's being called. You want the police to live. They want to live in the neighborhoods they police. They got to go grammar school, high school. They have to be in those neighborhoods. They need to grow up and know the people. You can't have people moving around. They need to be known and held accountable by the local courts, the press, the people. If you have a nation where people are just moving around from cities to cities, and you don't have a nation, you have a collection of strangers. That's not how a nation functions. And you're very much seen it where it's just a commercial zone, a group of people who are just kind of cattle death slaves. They don't know each other. They can't ever unite against anything. And that's the way the puppet masters want it. We want this localism, communitarianism, and the left wing very much does not. They want you as rootless and cut off and confused and upset as possible, and with centralized authority and people coming in and out. They don't want neighborhoods. They don't want states. We very much want a 50-state model, and they want to expand federal power. And as you see, Biden with his 90,000 IRS agents is doing it, or they're going to continue to expand the FBI. I think they just are building $1 billion building to grow the FBI. That's all under all that stuff happened under Biden, and whoever else gets in 24. You think, oh well, they'll cut the federal power, right? I wouldn't hold your breath on that one. So the thing is, the reason you want localism, local courts, press, people all living together, because if you have nameless, faceless federal cops, they're not held accountable. They turn into federal sociopathic versions of Antifa, as you've seen with, Ruby Ridge. All those type of Waco type of things, or what was it? The Clinton, Elian Gonzalez, and there's the picture of his customs cops. I think they're federal customs cops. They go in and they're got an MP5 pointed at this kid, and that this guy is holding this kid, and there's the famous picture of the MP5 pointed at the kid, and you're like, and he dressed up as SWAT, and he goes, why do you need militarized police? Well, that's a whole nother video. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, join the subscribe star. Thanks for everyone's support over there, and I'll see you guys all next episode.